You can't beat it. It is Cooper Mays, the center of attention, because he plays center. How corny was that, Coop? Pretty corny.
I thought it was pretty good, man.
Thank you. I'll take that. My editor used to always rip me for that. He is Cooper Mays. I'm Dave Hooker, the Vol Report with Coop, where we visit with one of Tennessee's key figures on the field, but awesome to talk to off the field as well. Brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters. So take 1 second and be sure and click that like button and have that subscribe button on and turn your notifications on so you know when we visit with Coop and maybe some other players coming down the pike. But first, Coop, I want to tell you happy Easter. You've got a little bit of a break here, 3 or 4 days between practice sessions and spring. So how you feeling?
I feel really good. Our spring ball is really a time to grow and get better. So anytime you can do that, it's a good time.
Yep. So what are your thoughts on the offensive line about midway through?
I feel like we're doing pretty well. One thing that we've talked about is the D line is really good this year and have been for a few years. So that's given us a big opportunity to get better every day. So we're growing just as they are.
That's interesting. So how much does that competition help, especially this time of year?
Oh, it's huge because especially, the young guys get to come in and they get to feel what real SEC football feels like because we've got, a top notch and top tier D line group. So, you get introduced to the game very quickly.
You guys had about 10 or 12 midterm enrollees come in. And I'm just curious if you sit back as a grizzled veteran and you see that wow look on their face at times. Do you just kind of sit back and notice that they're like, wow, this is a different level?
Uh, I you don't really see it, but it's there, because everybody's been in that spot and you know how it feels. It's just everything's a little bit too much. It's a little too fast.
Yeah, it definitely gets moving. As far as now, I know that Cam Selden is a guy, and there have been other guys that are going to miss practice time, but most recently him at the running back position. But Javantez is going to miss some time in spring camp as well. That's been shared by Josh Heupel, and I'm curious how much it hurts missing spring practice for your development over the year, Coop.
I would say it kind of depends on more where you're at in your career. It's different for each guy, but spring is a crucial time for development when you're young, and because usually when you're young, you don't get a lot of time to play in the actual games and you don't get to, you know, you don't get to actually practice. You're usually on scout team, so spring's a good time for young guys to take a step forward and kind of figure out what the game is really like and have a chance to show kind of how they've improved and everything. So it's bigger for young guys, I would say.
How do you feel about Javantez having to miss some time? Pretty good. He's played a lot.
Yeah, I mean the fact of the matter is Sprague has been healthy his whole career. Like he's never missed. I don't think I've seen him miss a practice before now. So I mean he's a guy that's he's seen a lot of football. So
I think he's fine missing a spring camp or two.
Yeah, he's probably okay.
Hey, last time we talked, I don't think you guys were in full pads, but we talked about Lance Hurd being a big guy, strong guy in the weight room. You've now had an opportunity to see him on tape a little bit. What are your impressions of him?
He's strong. He's pretty strong. He's got heavy hands. He's very lengthy. So that's very important at the tackle position. So that's helped him out a lot. And he's still young, so he's got some stuff to work out and little kinks in the chain or whatever that he's got to figure out. But the canvas is there for sure.
Yep. It certainly looks that way. And not to shift gears on you too much, but you've been in that position, Coop, of being hurt before. How challenging is it to keep yourself engaged with what's going on at practice when maybe you're thinking, God, I wish I was healthy?
It's a challenge, it's definitely not where you want to be, but it's kind of something that you kind of just take it and run with it as best you can. You coach up the guys around you if you're not able to practice, and you kind of use your eyes as a tool to help other folks, or at least that's what I've done in the past.
Were there times that you got down with your injuries that you wondered, hey, am I going to be at this level or not? Because you suffered quite a few nicks and bruises, not overly serious, but serious enough.
Yeah. I mean, I personally, it's not something that like bothers me too much, as in the fact that not knowing if I'm going to be able to do it again. I usually feel pretty confident in my ability to come back and do well because I've done it before. But yeah, it's not a good situation all around. It's just people kind of don't realize the effect it has on you because this is kind of all we know. As much as people say that like you shouldn't let football be your identity and all that stuff, it's kind of just natural. I mean, if you're doing it all day and it's kind of all you're doing, it's kind of hard to not let it be your identity a little bit.
How important is it to stay around the football program, and be a part of the program even if you are injured?
Oh yeah, I mean that's not a choice. So, but that's important.
Yeah,
But
but you can't get lost if you're always with the team, right?
that's true. You won't get lost. That's for sure. They usually keep account. Our staff is very strict on being where you're supposed to be. So,
By the way, speaking of, and just so everybody knows, Cooper didn't share this with me, but somebody else did. Your all's daily schedule. It is not incredibly easy. Somebody shared a daily schedule with me, and you guys are going from what to like 6, 7 in the morning till 6, 7 at night. That was like a 12-hour day.
yeah, I mean, there's times. I mean, we got to do class and everything, so there's breaks in the middle. But yeah, we start pretty early and then round it out and finish it off pretty late. But we get some breaks in the middle at least.
We get some breaks in the middle, but I wonder if that was a huge adjustment for you when you saw that schedule and you were a young man coming into college ball.
It was rough. It was rough for me. I personally, I'm not big. I wasn't. Nowadays, I naturally like wake up at 6, 7 a.m. I guess I'm just getting old, but yeah. When I was young, I really did not enjoy getting up early. I'm good about a lot of stuff, but I was not good about getting up early.
Okay, so pretend for a second I'm a little bit of a whiny freshman, and I'm like, there's just too much to do. I can't handle all this. There's too much on my plate. How does Cooper respond?
Man, I'll just respond and tell them that you should probably just go ahead and go home now because it's a lot worse. If right now is too much, but nobody said to me, thankfully.
No, when does it get worse? Does it get worse in preseason camp or the actual game?
Oh man, fall camp is always going to be worse than what you're doing right now. I don't know. I mean, stuff always gets worse before it gets better. So,
That's true. Okay, so how much more difficult is fall camp than spring camp when everybody's going at it?
oh, it's a lot worse. I'd say probably double the amount of tough, double the worstness.
Double the we're making up
Double
words.
the worstness. Make it up.
These words brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. All right, I'm going to be the flip side. So I've got something to kind of sort of whine about. I'm a freshman that's injured and I'm on the sideline. And I come to Cooper, who I've been told is one of the good leaders of this team, great leaders of this team, which is absolutely true. And I say, I'm really down, man, because I can't be a part of football. If I was still a part, this would be okay, but this is difficult. What do you say to that young man as a leader?
And I would tell them that it's okay. It's not your fault that you got hurt. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, nobody probably really thinks it's their fault, but a lot of people get super upset and tore up about being hurt and stuff. And it's really just wasted energy. So I would tell somebody just to, calm down. You've got 4 or 5 more years here, depending on who you are, or 3, I guess, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, if you're starting out hurt here, then you might be a 4 or 5 year kind of guy. So just slow your roll, take your time, make sure you get healthy and get your body right before you come back, and then do what you need to do. Because I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day. So
Great line again, and stay where my feet are. That's another one of the Coopers that I personally file away. How did you get better as a player when you were injured from, I guess, the neck up?
but just being super locked in meetings. I mean, there's not much that you can do. I mean, I haven't really said it very much, but that's kind of the biggest thing that I think about when I'm going through times where I can't practice is you don't have, obviously you don't have the reps of the game. So be early to meetings, be extra locked in during the meetings, write down good notes and figure out what everything's going on while you're not in, because soon enough you're going to be back in there, and if you haven't been paying attention when you're out, then you're going to be first of all, you're going to be looking back because you've been hurt, which is natural, but then second of all, you're not going to know what you're doing. So it's a really bad ordeal then.
I want to switch gears and ask you about one guy that you've brought up, and then a couple of other people brought up to me as a great leader, and that's Dylan Sampson. And you told me last spring that, first of all, you thought he was going to be a really, really good player, and that's elevated to a really, really good leader. Can you give me an example of that? Because you're not the only person to say that. A lot of people said that.
An example of him being a leader.
Yes.
And I guess the most like visual representation, he calls it up before the games or whatever, when everybody's grouped up in the circle. So he's the guy. He likes to talk. So
What's call it up mean? I'm gonna show my ignorance. Is that the
like everybody just comes up in a big group, like you call it up.
okay? So on three, 1, 2, 3. Block.
I mean, do a little speech or whatever, and then you Tennessee on 2 or whatever.
Can I? Do you ever do the call it up?
No, I don't. I mean, dude, honestly, I'm not that type of guy personally. Like,
So I can't get a little call it up right now, though.
No, I mean, personally, I think if you need a big speech for a game, then you're probably the wrong guy for the job. So I don't like to talk a lot. I say some words to the O line or whatever before the game, but I don't like talking to the whole group, because I also know that there's 125 people all in one group. So theoretically, probably the interior, maybe 17 people, I would say, can probably actually hear what you're saying. And then when you get outside that, you're catching like 1 out of every 5 words, and then you don't really know what's going on.
So do you give a pep speech to the O line before games? You said you talked to the O line.
Yeah, sometimes.
Is that impassioned? Is that just matter of fact? How would you describe it?
Probably more impassioned. This is like set the tone kind of thing.
Can I get like a little? No.
No.
Can you get a snippet of that?
Dude, I can't fake stuff like that. It's honestly, like, there's some days where I just know that, like, you can't be as impassioned, because like I can't fake it some days.
No, I understand. Okay, was there a moment last year you look back and you think you thought to yourself, or think to yourself now, that was well timed. I hit the nail on the head. That was what they needed. I'm the leader. I did that.
No, I mean, every time I speak, I usually feel like I hit the nail on the head. But I don't know. Just I feel like I do a pretty decent job. I mean, it gets me fired up personally.
So for the record, do you rather have the ball so you think you can hit somebody immediately, or would you rather not have the ball?
I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me. I kind of usually like letting the defense go out there first, so I can have time to calm down a little bit before everything. Because when you run out of the tee and everything, everybody's super hyped up, and you kind of, if you're out there first, you kind of get like thrust into it a little bit. Like it's kind of rushed. But when the defense goes out there first, you can kind of get time to calm down and kind of get back to center a little bit.
Absolutely. Last thing I got for you. So I was working on something about Dylan Sampson. Is it rare to have a guy that plays running back be one of your better leaders? I just don't see that match. It's not something I've come across a lot, and I don't know why.
I wouldn't. I don't know, man.
Is that not weird? It's kind of like
I don't know. I haven't really thought about like that, but I've never. I mean, I guess you're kind of right. Now that you say it, I guess a little bit, but I don't know. I don't think we're really. I guess leaders come in all different shapes and sizes.
Yeah, nobody's turning down leaders. All right, again, the Vol Report with Cooper Mays is brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. Go to cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters. Over 50 years in Knoxville. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.